Have you ever looked in the mirror and felt a quiet but persistent ache, like something is missing, even though your life looks successful? You've done what was expected. You built a career, perhaps raised a family, paid your bills. But deep inside, a question echoes, is this all there is? Now imagine if you stopped running from that question. If you stopped mistaking busyness for meaning and instead turned inward, not out of despair, but out of courage. What if your true calling isn't something you lost, but something you've never fully met? That's where the journey begins. Not in your 20s, when society tells you to figure it out, but now in your 30s, 40s, 50s, or beyond. Precisely when the masks begin to crack, and the inner voice can no longer be ignored. Carl Jung didn't believe your purpose was something you chose like a job title. He believed it was something you uncovered through depth, crisis, and confrontation with the self. He called this process individuation, the lifelong task of becoming who you truly are, not who the world told you to be. And here's the truth no one tells you. Your true calling rarely reveals itself in youth, because you don't yet know yourself deeply enough to recognize it. It waits. It watches. It grows in the soil of your lived experience, your failures, your grief, your quiet rebellions, your unspoken dreams. So I ask you now, how long will you keep living someone else's life while your soul whispers for attention? The lie you were taught. Since childhood, you were conditioned to believe that purpose equals productivity, that your worth is measured by your resume, your income, your social status. You were told to follow your passion, as if passion were a neon sign pointing to a pre-approved career path. But Jung saw this differently. He warned that in the first half of life, we must adapt to the outer world, build a persona, establish ourselves, conform enough to survive. But if we never turn inward in the second half, we become hollow. We live as ghosts in our own lives. This is why so many people hit 30, 40, or 50 and feel a sudden existential vertigo, even if they have it all, because they've spent decades feeding a persona while their soul starved. Your true calling isn't found in another job title or side hustle. It's found in the sacred unrest beneath your achievements, the part of you that refuses to be satisfied with surface success. And that unrest? It's not a flaw. It's a compass. The midlife crisis is a misunderstood awakening. Society calls it a midlife crisis, a joke about sports cars and affairs. But Jung saw it as something sacred, the psyche's rebellion against inauthenticity. When you reach your 30s, 40s, or beyond, your unconscious begins to demand balance. You've spent years saying yes to the world. Now your soul says, "What about me?" This isn't narcissism. It's evolution. Jung wrote, "We cannot live the afternoon of life according to the program of life's morning. For what was great in the morning will be little at evening, and what in the morning was true will at evening have become a lie." In other words, what served you in your 20s, ambition, competition, external validation, may now drain you. And that's not failure. That's maturity. Your true calling emerges not from your strengths, but from your wounds, the parts of you you've ignored, suppressed, or deemed unprofessional. The artist who became an accountant to please her parents. The healer who works in corporate HR but feels called to counsel. The thinker who writes poetry at 2 a.m. but calls it just a hobby. These are not distractions. They are symbols of your unlived life, messages from your unconscious pointing toward wholeness. How to listen, the Jungian path to calling. So how do you find your calling after decades of misdirection? Not by searching harder, but by descending deeper. Jung taught that the path to purpose isn't linear, it's spiral. It requires 1. Confronting the shadow. Your shadow contains everything you've rejected about yourself, your unacceptable desires, your creative urges, your rage, your vulnerability. But here's the secret. Your calling often lives in your shadow. That thing you're ashamed to admit you want? That impractical dream you laugh off? That's not childish. It's essential. Begin journaling. Ask, what did I love before the world told me to be realistic? What parts of myself have I silenced to be responsible? Don't judge the answers. Just notice them. 2. Paying attention to your dreams and synchronicities. Jung believed dreams are the royal road to the unconscious. And synchronicities, meaningful coincidences, are the universe's way of saying, you're on the right path. Start recording your dreams. Notice recurring symbols: water, doors, animals, strangers. These aren't random. They reflect your inner state. And pay attention to the coincidences that feel electric. The book that keeps appearing on your feed. The stranger who says exactly what you needed to hear. The idea that won't leave you alone, even though it makes no sense. These aren't accidents. They're archetypal nudges, your psyche guiding you toward alignment. 3. Embracing the useless. In a productivity-obsessed world, your true calling may look like waste of time. But Jung said, the least of things with a meaning is worth more in life than the greatest of things without it. Give yourself permission to do something with no ROI. Paint, dance, garden, write letters to your younger self, volunteer in silence. In these useless acts, you reconnect with intrinsic motivation, the only true source of calling. 4. Letting go of the grand narrative. You don't need to quit your job to follow your calling. Your calling might be how you show up, not what you do. The teacher who sees the lonely child no one else notices. The engineer who mentors young women with quiet dignity. The retiree who listens with full presence to his grieving neighbor. Calling isn't always a career. Often, it's a quality of presence, a way of being in the world that emanates from your authentic center. Jung believed that when you align with your individuation, even ordinary acts become sacred. The price of authenticity. But be warned, choosing your true self after 30, 40, or 50 comes with a cost. People will misunderstand you. They'll call you selfish for setting boundaries. They'll panic when you stop playing your old role, because your authenticity disrupts their illusions. When you stop performing, others lose their script, and they may leave. You will lose relationships, but you will gain integrity. And Jung was clear. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. This doesn't happen in comfort. It happens in the courageous solitude of choosing yourself, even when no one applauds. Start small. Start now. You don't need a grand vision to begin. Just one honest question. What brings me alive, even if no one sees it? Then do that thing. Once a week, then twice. Then let it grow. Protect your energy. Say no to what drains you. Say yes to what makes time disappear. Your calling isn't a lightning bolt. It's a slow sunrise, visible only to those who stop running long enough to see it. And remember, it's never too late. Jung began his deep psychological work in his 40s, after a breakdown, after abandoning Freud, after losing his place in the academic world. He sat with his own darkness. He drew, painted, journaled, explored his dreams. Out of that descent came his life's work, and a legacy that changed psychology forever. Your second act isn't a failure. It's your soul's invitation. The invitation. So ask yourself today, who would I be if I stopped betraying myself to keep others comfortable? What would I do if I knew I couldn't fail, or if failure didn't matter? Your answers won't come from logic. They'll rise from your belly, your tears, your quiet longing. Trust them, because your true calling isn't out there in the world waiting to be discovered. It's already within you, waiting to be lived. And the time is now. Not when the kids are older. Not when you retire. Not when you have more time. Now, when your soul is knocking. You've spent decades building a life that looks good from the outside. Now build one that feels true from the inside. You will lose the approval of those who only loved your mask, but you will find the respect of your own soul. And that is worth more than any title, salary, or applause. If this resonates, write in the comments, "I choose my truth." Let's see how many are ready to trade illusion for authenticity. And don't forget, keep watching the next video. Because your calling isn't a destination. It's a daily practice of courage. And you're not alone.